when we look at another person's marriage and we envy them, whether it be an ideal or someone real, is what is it that I want out of marriage? What is it that would make us both happy? And what is it that we would have in our marriage that would make somebody else jealous and they would want a marriage like ours? Number one factor of a great marriage is called the core factor. The core factor. Okay, protecting the core. Now, let me give you the legal definition of marriage. And this is what I was saying. If you would have walked up to me months ago and said to me, Jimmy, legally, what does marriage mean? I would have taken a stab at it, but I don't know that I would have gotten it right. Here's what marriage means, 3 things. When the state issues a marriage license, they're recognizing 3 things, and this is the core of marriage. Number 1 is financial unity. When you're married, in the eyes of the state, they now see you as one financial entity. When the IRS sends you a bill as a married couple, you're one financial entity. Number 2 is you're the next of kin. When you get married, you legally become your spouse's next of kin, which means if they're in the hospital, if they're on life support, you're the person who makes those kinds of decisions. If they pass away, you get the inheritance. It means more than that, but I'll talk about that more in just a minute. Number 3 is sexual exclusivity. The state recognizes and has always recognized that marriage is a sexual institution, that when you're married, you are now vowing sexual exclusivity to your spouse. Let me talk about that for just a minute. Go finances. This is the core. When you look at marriage, so think about an atom for just a minute, and you think about the nucleus of an atom, which would be your marriage, and you think about protons, neutrons, and electrons. Okay? All of them have to work or it doesn't work. An atom is not a stable thing without all of those things working together. Marriage is not satisfactory unless finances, needs, and sex are all right. And 1 out of 2 doesn't work, 1 out of 3 doesn't work, 2 out of 3 doesn't work. It has to be 3 out of 3. Let me say this, and this is an interesting thing, is that finances, family, or getting our personal needs met, and sex, these are the top 3 reasons people divorce. In other words, when these things are right, it makes you really happy. But when any one of these things is wrong, it can make you really unhappy. This is the core of marriage. And so when you have a marriage that is the marriage that you want, a great marriage, the core is always intact. The atom has protons, neutrons, and electrons, but when one particle begins to be unstable, the entire atom begins to be unstable. Now, let me go to finances for just a minute. We are financial partners. Everything that our spouse does has a dramatic impact upon us financially. Let me say this another way. Finances is a big deal. Jesus taught more about money than almost any other subject. The Bible says more about money than almost any other subject. And money is where the rubber meets the road in a lot of our lives. It is a very, very important thing. Everything my spouse thinks, everything they do related to money has a direct impact upon me. And if we're going to have a good marriage, it means we're good financial partners because we're one. We're one. We can't be disconnected financially. We're one together in this financially. Number 2 is next of kin. And next of kin is, I am most responsible for you. When I'm getting married to you, now the law says that I'm next of kin. By the way, when Adam looked at Eve after God created her, here's what he said: "You're bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh." Your family, girl. Your family. In other words, God could have made Eve out of the dust the same way He made Adam, but He didn't. He made her out of him, and then we come out of women. That's the way we're born. You know why? Because we need each other and we're family. And when God looked at Adam all by himself in Genesis 2:18, He said, this isn't good. Everything else that God did in creation, He said, that's good, that's very good, except for a man by himself. Because we can't meet our own needs. We're 2 halves of a whole. We need each other. And when we get married, what we're saying is, I am now your family. In fact, I am more your family than your blood kin. A lot of people say blood is thicker than water. And they're saying that, when it comes right down to it, if a fight breaks out, stick with blood. Your blood kin. But here's what Jesus said in Matthew 19. What God has joined together, let not man put asunder. Let me give you a different formula. Blood is thicker than water, but spirit is thicker than blood. And when you get married and God puts you together, when you say, I do, something happens spirit to spirit. And what it means now is, I need you more than anybody else. I'm looking to you to meet the unmet needs in my life, not the needs that only God can meet, but the needs that I need the closest family member in my life to meet. And you fit me. You complement me. We need each other. And so we're next of kin. And I have got to act in good faith to say, I take the responsibility for you in your life. Number 3 is sexual exclusivity. We're not going to have sex with anybody else now. Marrying you means that I am now going to focus my sexual needs and energies on you and you alone. And this means 2 things. Number 1, it means fidelity. I am swearing fidelity to you. I'm not going to cheat on you. Number 2, it means I'm going to meet your needs. It means that I'm going to give you conjugal rights. I'm not going to withhold from you. I'm not going to use sex as a weapon against you. I'm going to meet your sexual needs. And I'm just saying to you right now that when those 3 things are good, marriage is great.
Thank you for joining us. Experience the life-changing series Sex, Love, and Communication on CD or DVD. Follow your interests and get social by connecting with Jimmy and Karen and the Ministry of Marriage Today on Twitter. Marriage Today's latest book, Lifelong Love Affair, is an essential tool couples can turn to again and again for inspiration and strength. Order your copy today. Become a rock-solid partner today and equip yourself with the tools you need for a successful marriage. $14, $28, or $56 per month. Choose the partnership level that's right for you. Become a rock-solid partner today.